Okay.
Yeah, he was really the difference there. That's crazy.
Yep. That saves my
Right.
my hesitant prediction with CP the other day. I'm like, I want the Warriors to win. I'm going to pick the Warriors to win, and I'll be surprised if the Warriors win.
All right, here we go, man. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Wednesday afternoon, man. Salute to everybody watching on YouTube. Bleacher Report simulcast here on today's show on KFTV, man. We are going to go in on a Game 2 preview and talk about the keys to victory for both teams, because joining us today, you guys know him, man, covering the NBA, covering New York sports for New York Post Sports. He's our guy, Dexter Henry. And on the other side, checking in, he is NBA analyst extraordinaire, NBA producer, content creator, also the co-host of Hoops Radio with Bobito Garcia. He's our guy, Eric Newman, checking in. Let's get into it, man. Like, share, and subscribe. Once again, salute to everybody watching, wherever you guys are watching from, Knicks Nation worldwide. We are in here. All right, man, let's get into it, man. Fellas, how we feeling today, man? Beautiful day on both coasts. How we doing?
Beautiful day. Can't complain. Beautiful day for a Game 2. If you're a Knicks fan, you're probably overhyped. If you're Eric, you're ready out here for some revenge. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's a good day.
Revenge juice here. Revenge juice.
Yeah. So, let's let the
Hey,
trash
real
talk
quick,
begin.
it's nice to see Dex out of a suit in the studio. It's
Right.
nice to see him back in his casual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Know what I'm
I feel
saying?
like people don't get to see me a little too casual. CP's seen it a couple of times, but you know, sometimes they don't. But yeah, I do get casual. Yeah.
Casual Dex, man. All right, let's get into this series, man. I'm ready to push Game 1 aside. You know, the hysteria and everything. Look, it was all warranted. Knicks Nation, we had a great time all over the world. We were celebrating. I'm ready. I need us to lock in tonight. You know what I mean? Because tonight is a very important game. I don't want this team to just be happy to be there and go through the motions of a Game 2 when the champs are barreling down their neck, because I'm expecting a championship effort here from the Boston Celtics, a championship caliber response. So I really want to see what the mental level, what the physical level is of this Knicks team, and will they rise to the challenge? Eric, you start off, man. What do you think about the tone of tonight's game? What are you expecting?
Oh, it's going to be chippy. It's going to be intense. I don't see any reason why the Knicks would fold in Game 2 and be happy with the split. I expect the Knicks to bring their A game, and it's not like they didn't bring their A game to start Game 1.
Yeah,
it's that the Celtics were playing pretty well, and I don't want to take anything away from the Knicks' effort. It was outstanding, but the Celtics hit the snooze button, and for up 20, and you just start doing things that are completely uncharacteristic. And for those of you watching that do not watch the Celtics as much as I do, and obviously I'm speaking mostly to Knicks fans, you can look at the box score and you can see 15 for 60s from 3 and go on the rant about how they shoot threes and they live by the 3 and die by the 3. That's not exactly what happened here. This was settling. This was terrible decision-making. This was getting way too comfortable with the lead and letting a team that has a lot of fight, a lot of grit, a lot of talent stay in the game and chip away and chip away and chip away. And obviously Coach Tibbs knows how to stay on his guys, and they stuck with their scheme. And when you have, as Reggie Miller said repeatedly over and over and over again on the broadcast, the best closer in the game in Jalen Brunson, you've always got a chance if you make it a game. And we saw that happen. So that's my starting point here on taking what happened in Game 1 and applying it to Game 2. The Boston Celtics are not going to be making those mistakes again in terms of their offensive shot selection and settling. They weren't playing together. They weren't moving the basketball. Now, were they offensive rebounding the ball? Well, yes. Were they kicking out, wanting to find open threes? Yes. But the shot selection overall, terrible. And that's what led to the Knicks staying in the game and ultimately stealing the game.
Well, what did you think about this before I get to Dex? You know, there was, because we on our Game of the Week previews, we have, Celtics analysts and content creators as well, who will speak on the team. And it seemed like from the Celtics side of things, you had the naysayer fans who, look, when they're raining threes, when they're raining the 63s and making them, they're all world. And then when they're not making them, it comes to criticism on the offensive scheme. What did you think about it?
Well, first of all, 63s is not the average. The average is in the mid to the high 40s,
40s,
right? And we've talked about this during the season. We talked about this ahead of game one. It's how they get the threes. It's the dribble penetration, draw two guys, then the ball finds the open man. It's posting up, finding a mismatch, going one-on-one down there, not having Porzingis for the majority of the game really hurt them because he's a terrific post player and he's a terrific three-point shooter. So this is the product of all of that. Listen, I've always subscribed by you live by the three, you die by the three, if that's what you're solely relying on. The Celtics first rely on attacking the defense's weakness and making them do something out of character to find then open threes with ball movement and player movement. That wasn't happening in game one. Okay? People lie. Stats lie. The tape don't lie. Look at the tape.
Look at the tape, man. Dex, what are you thinking about in terms of game two, how the Knicks approach this thing to get a win, man? What do you think?
Well, I mean, first of all, Eric talked about how the Knicks did get off to a good start, and he's definitely right about that. And I thought the thing that was interesting from the Knicks, from my standpoint in that game was, look, they switched everything on defense, which if you've been watching the team all season, they haven't done that. So Tom Thibodeau deploys that. Do I think that threw off the Celtics a little bit? Maybe, but they're good enough of a team with their championship medal to make the adjustments to that, and I expect them to do that. I was shocked with how the Knicks stuck with it, particularly when they got down 20. Cat gets in foul trouble. They still stuck with that. So it seems like this is something they're going to do. It's something a lot of Knicks fans have been calling for. Do they stick with that in this game? That's interesting to me for number one. Number two is, look, you can't miss 17 free throws. You were playing with food, missing 17 free throws. You only beat the Celtics by 3 points because they are a championship team. Mitchell Robinson, is he playable? That's the big thing here, right? Mm-hmm. The Celtics went to the hack of Mitch. If I was Joe Mazzulla, I'd do the same thing, right? They've got to see if they can play him. Now, CP, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you trust playing Precious Achiuwa? Mm-hmm. I do not think Tom Thibodeau does. He only plays him 5 minutes. It's a problem because the Knicks want to go big. Mitch helps them when they want to switch everything. It's good to have him on the floor for that because he can protect the paint, because he can also defend on the perimeter as well, too. So you want that. But if he kills you on offense, that's a problem there, too. So for me, it's that. And then also the other thing I'll say, the third thing I'll say for the Knicks is, one thing I think you got to like if you're a Knicks fan is you like the volume of threes they got up. They got up 37 in this game. They're never going to get up to 48, right, like the Celtics do in their average per game, but they got up 37 threes. They shot 45%. Something's going to give and regress to the mean. I don't think the Celtics are going to miss 45 three-pointers again.
Yeah.
Can the Knicks, though, get the volume up? The Knicks might not shoot 45% again, but can they get into that math game and get those threes up and hit them? So those are the things I'm looking for tonight. I do agree with Eric on one thing as well, too. I don't think the Knicks are coming up to Boston and saying, hey, we're fine with just one. Mm-hmm. They can't be. You can't be against a team playing at this level that's won a title. You got to try to get two. You got to be greedy. And we'll see if the Knicks can do that tonight. But I expect the Celtics to come out guns blazing here in the first quarter.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
Dex, you make a great point about the foul trouble and the switching. It was like the Celtics were like, you know what? Like, let's let him stay in the game. Let's not try to have Cat get his fourth foul early. Let's not try to get into the bonus too early. It was very strange. The Knicks had three guys with 3 fouls in the second quarter.
Yeah,
correct.
And it was perfectly tailored to continue to drive the ball to the basket and initiate contact and make the Knicks make a decision. Like, are we going to stay with you and play this physical style in danger, putting ourselves in danger of being in foul trouble, or are we going to lay off a bit? And that ties to the switching. If Mitchell Robinson switches out on Jason Tatum, unless he's giving him 3 feet of room, that needs to be a dribble drive right by Mitchell Robinson. And the amount of times they settled because of the switch, whether it was a big on him or a smaller player he could shoot over, again, not characteristic of who this team has evolved to be, starting last year with the championship and obviously this year with another 60-win season. So those things, you could be sure they're going to clean up. Dex, you make a great point about the Knicks making the choice to switch almost everything instead of what they usually do, which is a combination of sometimes hedge and recover, sometimes trap and chase. And again, chess match ahead for game 2, but there's no way the Celtics are going to be reacting to the Knicks switching everything in the same way.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. That's what I'm gonna be interested in seeing, like how they respond to that. But because for the Knicks, I feel like that's the only chance they have at even winning this series defensively. Like the hedge and recover, and settling or taking a chance with Boston taking wide open threes, in which they will take them in volume and not gonna miss as many as they did in Game 1. I don't think that's a great strategy. They have to switch everything and live with the results. Now in Game 1 it worked. We'll see what happens tonight. But I think also as a consequence of doing that, part of that was, getting Karl-Anthony Towns in foul trouble. An undisciplined defender getting caught out there on the perimeter trying to guard Jason Tatum. So you get caught. I'm gonna be very interested to see how they react to that tonight, because in the first quarter of Game 1, they got into foul trouble very early. Celtics were in the bonus with like 7 minutes left. So, and again, I always throw the tinfoil hat on a Game 2 with the team down, that they will put pressure on the refs, they will put pressure on the rim. So I'm going to be interested to see, how the fouls are called, especially early in this game, and what this officiating crew, what their tempo is, because Game 1 I thought it was called fairly tight. So let's see what happens there in Game 2. And Dex, your points on the threes, I like that with the Knicks in Game 1. They got up to 37 attempts. They're going to need to do it again, but it was the way they got them. They got a lot of it in rhythm. They played fast. They upped their pace. And that's, again, like, when you're thinking about the differences between Game 1 and Game 2, just like in that Pistons series, they went back to settling. Kick it to Brunson and watch him work. Lazy offense. And I just feel like that human nature factor does kick in. So they have to, once again, maintain their pace, get those paint touches, and kick out. Getting the OGs involved for three, Bridges for three. When Hart has that opportunity, get his threes. But to me, tonight, it's on the big bodega. He has to dominate this game for the Knicks to win, in my opinion. First game, because of the foul trouble, you took away his aggressiveness wholeheartedly. And he still finished with a decent game. It's 14 and 13, good efficiency, but they're going to need a lot more from him. And if the Celtics are going to continue to put Tatum, Brown on him, even Horford, he's got to win those matchups. He has to win it.
I think so, CP. And I think one of the things you look at his game, right? He only had 13 shots. You mentioned so correctly about the fact that he was taken out because of the foul trouble. The other thing, you want him to get up more threes. You want him to put pressure on that Celtics defense. Only one 3-point attempt from Karl-Anthony Towns. And that was like the end of the shot clock. I remember he shot that in the second half. It was in the third quarter. Ended shot clock, heaved one up. He's got to be better at that, because if Porzingis is back tonight and he's healthy, his ability to stretch the floor, and he's going to make life a living hell too. That's another wrinkle we got to talk about. We got to see it's like how do the Knicks defending and switching everything with more minutes from Porzingis? Because I think one of your takeaways from Game 1 should be everybody focused on the 45 missed three from the Celtics, and I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but what I'm saying is Kristaps Porzingis, you've seen how valuable he is to this team, man.
Yeah.
You see how valuable he is in terms of stretching the floor, also giving them some size inside. Now, I think one thing I'll say is I think the Knicks are going to try to test him. You saw Josh Hart penetrate against Porzingis a lot in the first quarter. I think they'll try to test him. He's, coming off of not feeling well. I think the Knicks are going to try to go at him a little bit. But if Porzingis is right and ready to shoot, that's more pressure on the Knicks defense. But hey, the Knicks went to the switch everything. I like it. At least we saw Tom Thibodeau try something different. And I like it. Now, is that going to work? I don't know. We'll see. But I like that he tried something different.
Yeah, and real quick, part of why it worked so well for the Knicks was Porzingis was not on the floor.
Yeah.
Porzingis will play you right out of your switches, because the moment he gets somebody on him who's 6'8" or smaller, he's going either right down to a few feet off the block, or he's catching at foul line, middle of the floor, turning and facing up. And now he sees the entire defense and can go one-on-one. And, he's become one of the most effective post players in basketball, just from an efficiency standpoint. Had a couple of tough moments against Orlando where he was out of rhythm, but this is a huge game for him tonight. Listen, the Celtics won the championship last year, and he only played in 3 playoff games, and they were 16-3 on the road to the title. Like that's how together this team is. That's how good this team can be when they're playing at their best. And he's been very good this year when he's played. He needs to have a big game tonight on both ends of the floor. Defensively, he adds a lot, because when they do switch and he gets caught in a perceived mismatch, he's got that wingspan and length where he doesn't have to be right up on the guy, and he's a really good weak side shot blocker as well. So big addition if he's back in the lineup tonight and feeling better for the Celtics,
Yeah.
and hopefully he is. The concern for me is how Jaylen Brown's health is right now.
Yeah, what do you think, man? It didn't look like himself.
He hasn't looked like himself in a minute. I mean, he's had some very, very good games. He sat out about 8 of the last 16 games to get ready for the playoffs. He had some moves early in the game where he knows when he has a defender on him, he can get him wherever he needs to below that free throw line, get those shoulders square, go up and over him. He needs to do more of that, but this is not the same Jaylen Brown health-wise that was the Eastern Conference Finals and NBA Finals MVP last year. The knee's barking a little bit. They're doing their best to manage it. He's going to play through it regardless, but he's got to be a bit more efficient. Obviously, him and Tatum were extremely inefficient in game one, and usually what the Celtics try to do is establish Brown and Porzingis right away. Their first quarter stats the last 2 years, amongst the best in the league. Tatum feels the game out and then sees where he can be first the playmaker and get the ball moving, and then, of course, take over the game scoring the basketball. So look for a dose of Porzingis in the first quarter, a dose of Brown in the first quarter to get them going, and then we'll see how it goes. But those guys, I'm going to say it here. I mean, tonight obviously is a must-win for the Celtics. Those guys have to have good games.
Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Another KFTV Bleacher Report simulcast, man. We got a great panel here with our guys Dexter Henry, Eric Newman in the building. Knicks and Celtics tipping off at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Early start once again. And as you heard, man, we are talking a little bit about injuries, Porzingis and Jaylen Brown. And it's a good segue for our sponsor of today's show. Shout out to Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, man. With over $25 billion recovered, over 500,000 clients served, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people for over 35 years. They have over 100 offices nationwide and 1,000 lawyers fighting for you. If you've been injured, you deserve to be paid. And the best part about Morgan & Morgan is that their fee is free unless you win. So make sure you guys tap in with them today, man. If you have an injury claim, go to forthepeople.com/KFTV. That's forthepeople.com/KFTV. Or you can dial from your phone pound law or pound 529 from your cell phone. All right. And also, for those of you in the tri-state area, man, tonight, you know where we're going to be at. That is the Ainsworth for the #1 watch party for the fans, by the fans, man. We will be in the building from 5 o'clock. You have happy hour going on from 5 to 6. Live game audio. Most importantly, we got the game sound on. And then during commercials, DJ Eric L. Beats will have you rocking on the ones and twos. Get your tickets at KFTVWatch.com, or you could also come and get your tickets at the door. And hey, you never know who might pull up, man. On Monday, we had Michael Rainey from Power. We had the whole Power crew. Da Vinci was in there. And tonight we got New York Nico and a couple of good people coming through as well, man. So you never know who's going to pop in. Get your tickets at KFTVWatch.com or KnicksFanTV.com. Okay. I got a question for Eric. You know, he's talking about Jaylen Brown. He's talking about Kristaps Porzingis. What is Joe Mazzulla's plan to stop an emerging player in the playoffs for the New York Knicks? Over his last 28 games, he has been going absolutely ballistic, and that is including the regular season and the postseason. Last 28 games. Let me pull the lineup up. Hang on. Let me make sure. 21.9 points per game, 47% shooting from the field, and 39 from three. We call him the dog. He goes by the name OG Anunoby. How are you guys going to stop him tonight?
It's a great question. The one thing that I love so much about OG is the majority of his looks and points come in the flow of the game. You're not running specific action for him. It's pretty incredible how this trade has worked out, by the way. And the Knicks had been targeting him for a while, and he has emerged to be that very reliable number 3 guy. It could alternate any night between him and Bridges, and obviously Hart specializes in all the dirty work. But to stop him, it's an interesting question. And what we were talking about pre-show, when we confirmed that Hauser is doubtful, the guy that I want to see off the Celtics bench and in the game tonight is Torrey Craig. The guy D's up. The guy has a lot of experience. He was in the NBA Finals with the Phoenix Suns in 2021. He shoots the 3 at a pretty good rate, above 40%. So with Jaylen Brown feeling the way he's feeling, and obviously he's going to defend whoever the assignment is. He spends time on Brunson. He spends time on Bridges. He's going to spend time on OG, as will Tatum. But Torrey Craig is someone to look for tonight to play some minutes to match up with OG, who's been playing great. And yes, scary. Scary good right now, and a real concern. You look at the box score from game one, it's ugly on both sides. But if you look at the Knicks and the efficiency and the field goal percentage, it doesn't spell victory, right? And especially with Cat's limited looks and minutes, it doesn't spell victory. OG's numbers and buckets were huge, and he's a real problem out there. So Torrey Craig, hopefully in the rotation tonight for Hauser's minutes. If he can't go, look for him to spend time on him. And then obviously, if Brown is not on Brunson, him and Tatum are going to be spending time on OG as well.
Yeah, I like that name, man. He was a name, when he made the buyout market, I was hoping the Knicks would have got him. Somehow with these CBA technicalities, you had the Celtics, who were way over the second apron, were able to get their hands on him before the Knicks. Knicks had to wait before they could even sign a guy.
They weren't. They weren't over the second. They weren't. The Celtics made that move, and they traded that young guard to Houston. They traded Springer to Houston, who I really liked.
Yeah.
Whose pro player comparison, ironically, coming out of college was Marcus Smart, and you guys know how I feel about Marcus Smart. So they had to lose Springer, and there was some significant savings there. Now, whether or not that got them below the apron exactly at that time, I can't remember. But the addition of Craig, to your point, is someone who could have helped a lot of teams. Definitely would have helped the Knicks, and hopefully tonight he helps the Celtics.
Dex, what are you thinking about it with OG, man? Because I have to think that, they're going to be keen in on him, in particular, running him off the three-point line and making him put the ball on the floor where he's not the strongest. So I'm wondering how that impacts things. You don't want him stumbling around, turning the ball over. That turns into Boston threes. Just another area where they got to be careful, man. What do you think?
No, that's a good point there, CP, because he had the efficient night, 10 of 20 from the field for the 29 points on Monday night. But you saw with some of the struggles, which you've seen from him, when he's run off the line, when he's got to put the ball on the floor, he has a penchant for turnovers there sometimes. That's what you don't want him to do. You want him to do what Eric said, is play within the flow of the game. That's where he's his strongest. The thing I think he should also get credit for is his defense, which has been tremendous through this postseason, which is what the Knicks brought him here for. CP, you and I were together the day the Knicks made their trade in studio for that when that went down. And he's been great. And it feels like there's another level to his game. He's a player I'm really excited to see what he does in the offseason, how he can level up. Can he clean his handle up a little bit? Can he cut down on some of those turnovers? But you want OG to be aggressive. I think that's the thing. You want him to be aggressive. You want him running the floor. Obviously, the dunk he had in overtime was huge there. But I think what starts with him affects all of what we call here in New York Wingstop. Wingstop has finally showed up and delivered in that game. They weren't looking like barbecue chicken. They finally showed up and delivered. And this is what you need to see. Mikal Bridges was huge defensively. Josh Hart was doing Josh Hart things. To beat the Celtics, to even be in the game with the Celtics, you need the three of those guys to be at the top of their game, or at least doing the intangible things that are necessary. Because when you look at the box score, as Eric talked about, one of the things I didn't even mention that I'm also concerned with Knicks for is rebounding. They got out-rebounded by 10. They gave a lot of second chance points to the Celtics. I know the Celtics have to be looking at this and saying, man, we had the second chance points. We turned that into extra threes that we normally hit. Or we probably could have attacked the rim a couple of more times and been a little bit more balanced, but we didn't do that. They're gonna try to clean that up. So if you're the Knicks, you got to rebound better. You have to rebound better today. I think OG, looking at his rebounds, he had 4 in the game. Cat had 13, Josh Hart had 11. You got what you got from Mitchell Robinson off the bench with 7, but they've got to be better at that. But OG is going to be key, man. His secondary scoring is going to be key. But I think in terms of what we said about his limitations, CP, with the fact that he has a penchant for turning the ball over when he tries to put it on the floor, this is where you need Mikal Bridges to step up a little bit.
Yeah.
This is where you need a little bit of the shot creation from him and some of that, because Mikal Bridges had 7 assists in this game, which I think was underrated in which he did, but you'd like to see him also put the ball on the floor, get to the basket a little bit more, put some pressure on that Celtics defense. So as good as OG is, you need his efficiency, Mikal Bridges has to step up a little bit more offensively. Granted, if he's hitting shots like he did late, I don't care if it kissed off the glass or whatever, fans will take that. They'll take that any day.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But part of the rebounding issue, which I don't think the Knicks will be able to compensate for, is you had 17 between White and Drew Holiday.
Yeah,
They're two of the best rebounding
point.
guards in the league. And, that's the thing where it's like, man, you can't afford those mental lapses because the ball goes up and White's, he's already got the knack for where the ball's going to come off. So he's after Drew Holiday as well. And Brunson's just not going to be able to compensate for that. Hart does his best. But that's another reason why I'm not so ready to deviate from the Mitchell Robinson game plan. Even though he didn't have a spectacular night on the boards, I still think you need as much help as you can get. They still lost by 10 on the boards against the Celtics in game one. If they go to the Hackemich situation, look, yes, you can say he's going to go, maybe 50% or maybe zero. Maybe he bricks them. But also, number one, you're slowing the pace down. You give the Knicks a chance to get some rest. And Boston's also running up fouls, where the Knicks can take advantage and go into the bonus by sitting him. So I'm not so sure I'm ready to deviate from that just yet. Precious can come in and get you some of those rebounds. But the issue with Precious where, Josh Hart can stay in the game because of how active he is on the ball, whether it's handling the ball, running plays, running the dribble handoffs. Precious, he's not always locked in that regard. So he becomes that 4-on-5 liability.
Let me ask you this, CP. Would you, and I was talking about this on our live broadcast today, would you maybe go small to try to match the Celtics 5 out, have OG sort of play a little bit center? Now, this is very dependent on who the Celtics have on the floor, but maybe OG is somebody that can match up with KP a little bit better. I know you're giving up size, but everybody's giving up size with KP, 7'8". Would you go with that where you have OG at the 5 and try that a little bit differently? Now, I don't know how that's going to look rebounding-wise. You still might have that same problem that you're mentioning. Yeah. But is that something you would like to see Tibbs do?
Yeah. I might even consider throwing PJ out there in this series.
Oh, my God.
Real talk.
That's CP going to the end of the bench.
Listen, they've got to throw the kitchen sink at this team, and that might be one of the ways, man. A good corner 3 shooter. You can still keep your 5 outs. You could get tough. Fundamentals. He's going to scrap for all his minutes. Eric,
so you guys are talking about going completely small, like when Towns is off the floor and trying and trying that.
I'm talking specifically when Towns is off the floor, Eric.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you got to go back to Mitch and see how it goes first, right? And Missoula, I think, will use the hack of Mitch very strategically. Obviously, the guys that are fouling him in the open floor will have fouls to give, and we saw Pritchard grabbing him a couple of times. I think we saw Holiday. No one's fouling him unless absolutely necessary if they have 3 or more fouls. So I think you have to stick with him because he is a rim protector. He is an offensive rebounding threat. And besides the free throws, he's not a liability at all. He's a good player. Precious obviously is offensively limited. If you wanted to get Precious in the game to steal some minutes, to get some guys some rest, do you have him in the game when Cornette is in the game? Obviously, there's a size advantage there for Luke, who's had a very, very good season.
He's been great.
But they're not posting Luke, right? So that's nothing to worry about. So that's something you could potentially look for. I got to be honest, there was a stretch of time where I forgot that PJ Tucker ended up on the Knicks, and then I see him at the end of the bench for the playoffs. Like, oh yeah, that's right. But that's interesting, and I'm not saying Tibbs does this. He's a veteran coach. You guys don't want to overcoach it tonight, right? Like, you know what kept them in the game, but you also have to throw some new wrinkles out there.
Yes.
Obviously, the Celtics are going to work from the Game 1 film, and they've probably burnt the film at this point, to be honest with you. There's no reason to go back to it. So, and the other thing about the offensive rebounds from Game 1, and it was so many just wasted opportunities, they were kicking the ball out like the shot clock was at 3 on an offensive rebound, and you had to just shoot it. It was like hot potato, and call me old school in certain ways, but reset your offense. Make the Knicks play more defense, or dribble, drive, attack the ball on the closeout.
Yeah,
they did none of those things. It was pop a shot from 3, and burn the tape. Just burn it.
Burn the tape, man.
As KG said to the late great Craig Sager once. You see that suit? Burn that. Burn the tape.
Burn the tape, man. Have you spoken to Ticket? Have you spoken to him during the series yet?
I see him weekly, so we pushed our weekly show this week to tomorrow to time up with the series. So I'll go to the set tomorrow, suitcase packed, and then be on the flight out to New York to
There you go.
see you guys and everybody else.
Right. So they're filming out in L.A. as well. Him and Truth.
Him and Truth, absolutely.
Copy.
Truth films. Truth is on Fox every afternoon on Speak.
That's right.
That's right.
With Keyshawn and Joy and OG Rick Bucher when he comes in. And, he's been doing really well with that stuff too. So
there you go. There you go, man. Well, I'm looking forward to this one tonight, man. It's going to be an interesting one. We got to reconvene, I guess, on either Thursday or Friday and have this conversation, man. This is a great panel that we got going here. Plus, we're on the NBA Report reacting to the NBA playoffs as well. You had some crazy games last night with, how about that choke job by the Cavs, man? Complete choke job, and Halliburton crushing their spirits. And then you had, a Curryless Warriors team send a message to the Wolves. Gutsy wins last night, man.
How often do you think Halliburton plays the Wally Zerbiak quote in his head
every day?
Yeah,
and that man is not letting overrated go anytime soon.
Yeah,
and I'm not even mad at it.
No, and then that poll that came out by The Athletic, like overrated, like underrated.
Yeah,
I mean he and obviously all NBA is not supposed to have anything to do with the playoffs, right? And the all NBA selections are going to be very interesting this year. And CP, you and I talked about it the other day when we were talking about the West. Like, James Harden had a heck of a year and deserves to be on an all NBA team. I don't know if Halliburton's going to make an all NBA team this year because of the slow start he got off to. His numbers since January are completely different than they were halfway through the year. But as great as Steph Curry is, who's a better point guard right now in terms of how well they are playing? And I'll wait to listen. I haven't seen one. Halliburton is playing that well for the Pacers.
Jalen Brunson, sir. His name is
Fair
Captain
enough.
Clutch. Well, but I would say this. It depends on really how you want to classify the position.
Completely different games. Which is a great contrast,
yes.
right? Like,
yeah.
Jalen Brunson will never be accused of being a selfish player. He's just a shoot first point guard because he's the motor that makes the Knicks go. Halliburton obviously has the ability to hit the three and to get the ball to the paint and the basket and score, but his number one priority, and we were joking about this the other day with his own analogy of, being the mom and making everybody happy. He gets that team going and sprays the ball around and makes sure the ball's hitting the open man and drawing the defense. And then when the defense can't collapse because of his quickness and explosiveness, then he's finishing at the basket, which is obviously what sealed the deal against the Bucks. And the threat of that last night is what allowed him to make that absolutely incredible shot to win the game. And I mean, Cleveland has been the site of a lot of stunning sports heartbreakers. We can leave the Browns out of this. Just talking about the Cavs and what MJ did in that building, what and some of those moments, and obviously now this is another moment etched in stone that Cavs fans are going to want to forget. But the Cavs team has been on this journey to try to reach the next level. So I'm not going to bury them yet. But with the injuries and down 0-2 going on the road, well, you set yourself up for quite a situation here. So obviously win game 3 and make it a series. And if not, then a very disappointing year for the Cavaliers if they go home early to the Pacers.
Go ahead. Sorry, CP.
No, go ahead.
I wouldn't bury them yet, but the dirt is on the shovel because that is a brutal loss. Brutal loss. When you're up 7 with just, I think it was 1:05, 6 to go. They're up 7 still with 58 seconds to go. A lot of things have to go wrong. And these are the little things when you watch these games, right, Eric? You got the missed free throws. They got missed free throws from the Pacers, but the Pacers got the offensive rebounds and it made those in the possessions where they scored. So you had swings. They couldn't get the ball across half court. Kenny Atkinson had to burn 2 timeouts in those final 58 seconds. Those were all things. It just snowballed time and time again for Halliburton to hit that big shot. But you got to give the Pacers credit because They kept coming. They were down 20 in this game. They kept fighting. They never gave up. Pacers team's a good team, man. They got good experience from last year.
Yeah.
They have learned to fight. I know that a lot of people, even here in New York, will say, and I think the Knicks would have won the series last year if they were healthy. But that Pacers team was good. And Eric, you know this, in the conference finals, they were with 3 of those games were single-digit games that they were in.
Those were good games.
Yeah, they were good games. I know they got swept, but that was a tough sweep for the Celtics to. So this Pacers team is scrappy. They're deep. They play tough. Cleveland, look, they got some soul searching to do, and I don't know if all their guys are going to play. To be fair to them, they were playing 2-on-5 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Last night, if I'm going to be fair to them, Donovan Mitchell had a great performance despite being hurt. Jared Allen was good. Ty Jerome was terrible. I think he was 1 for 14 from the field. And everybody else, it was 2-on-5. The fact that they even went up 20 would it be 2-on-5?
Right.
It's kind of amazing. But they need those guys back. They need Garland back. They need Hunter back. They need to get healthy. By no means is it over, but they got to get those guys healthy by, I think they play Friday, and they got to win. But if you're a Cleveland fan, you're like, man, this again. But like CP, this I don't know if as a Knicks fan, is this worse? Is that loss worse because it was game 2? Is that loss worse than in '95 when Reggie Miller had the 8 points in 9 seconds?
Yes.
It's pretty. Those are one of those kind of losses. My point is that it's one of those like punch you in the gut, like, damn, I don't know if you recover from that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if they can recover from this. Number one, because I think the Pacers. I thought that the Pacers were going to take them to the distance in this round anyway.
Okay.
So, now with them being short 3 bodies, like, I don't know if they can recover, especially from the mental, aspect of losing 2 at home. He lost 2 at home already. He didn't even get to the Pacers building yet. So I think the Pacers are in the driver's seat, no pun intended. But what I do find interesting about this series, especially last night, is, all the talk all year was about how these coaches and Atkinson and Taylor Jenkins when he was there and Mark Diagno, how these guys go so deep in the bench and they're pacing their guys for the playoffs, especially Atkinson, right? There was a concerted effort to throttle down Donovan's minutes so that he can be fresh in the playoffs. And everything was the anti-Tibbs. Tibbs is running his players into the ground, The Knicks right now, the healthiest team in the playoffs. And the Cleveland Cavaliers coach last night said, we ran out of gas last night. You had Donovan Mitchell, who he's been pacing to get to this point, still limped into the playoffs a little bit. No Garland. DeAndre Hunter gets hurt, and that was a dirty play by Mathurin. He pushed him off with his offhand on that dunk. That was dangerous. Could have definitely done way more damage to his shoulder. And now you got no Evan Mobley. So the point is that I've been trying to make all year. There's no exact science for keeping guys fresh throughout the entire playoffs. It's an 82-game grind. Some guys get hurt going into the season. Some guys get hurt in game 1, game 5. You just don't know.
Right. That's good. It's a good point. And Atkinson also said, to be fair to him, that he should have went a little deeper into his bench. Now, the point I've always made with minutes about it is not about injuries. My point has always been about building trust for your players in case they are needed in times. So to contrast that, when you look at Rick Carlisle on the other side, he plays 10 deep. And forget the injury stuff. I think you have guys who are ready when they're able to step in. Whether Andrew Nembhard is a rotation player, but Neesmith has been fantastic off the bench for them in this series. There's guys that have been able to step in various ways and for them to close, and they feel ready. And I think that's the thing fans should look more about. I'm with you, CP, on this. The injury stuff is fluky. I know the people out there will say, you're a Tibbs defender.
Yes.
Dex is a Tibbs defender. Bondi's a Tibbs defender.
Yes.
They'll say that. And it's not about that. Injuries are fluky. You're 100% right. There's no exact science to it. Yes, you don't want to wear your players down. But then there's another part of it that I think you were kind of alluding to there, CP, which is if you don't play your players a certain level of minutes, and this is what the Knicks players have said, Josh Hart has said, well, we're used to it by the time we get to this point. If you're Donovan Mitchell and you've been averaging about 30 minutes, when you have to, in this situation, particularly in game 2, have to play 46, 47 minutes, maybe you're not used to it. Now, Donovan Mitchell was not the problem last night. He was tremendous in terms of what he did, especially he's been dealing with an injury too. But no, it's a fair discussion. But the Cavs, they got to get right. They got to get guys back. And I think that's a big game 3 for the franchise because of what they had ascended to this year, how things looked like it was going for them with Kenny Atkinson. and now they're in a little bit of trouble. Like Eric said, they're not dead, but the dirt is on the shovel. Dirt is on the shovel.
Yeah, Donovan played just under 36 minutes, right? But find me another team that is -3 of their top 7 in their rotation, right? Hunter goes down. You don't have Mobley, who's their second best player and the key to their defense. And then Garland takes so much pressure off of Donovan. And Ty Jerome's had a great season, but Ty Jerome had a season as a sixth man.
That's right.
And not as a starter in the playoffs against a team like the Indiana Pacers. And let's also credit the Pacers here. This team is playing the right way. They're playing together. They're a lot of fun to watch. We've talked about the basketball gods before. Look how the basketball gods are cooperating for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
Look at the end of that Bucks series and what had to happen for them to stay in that game and then steal that game. And then obviously look at what had to happen in game 2. So, Dex, your points on minutes, and again, CP and I talked about this last week, referencing some things that Pierce and KG have said over and over again. Those guys practiced hard, using the analogy of steel sharpens steel. They practiced hard, they practiced more frequently, and they could play through the bumps and the bruises because that's what they're used to. Just like Josh Hart said, this is what we're used to. So come playoff time, whether you're going to keep your 9 or 10 man rotation or you're going to trim it to 7 or 8, it's about the right guys out there. And injuries have cost teams going deeper into playoffs. Injuries have cost teams, obviously, championships. I know that very well as a Celtics fan. You guys know that well as Knicks fans. This is what happens. But for Cleveland, this could be a major, major disappointment. And for Indiana, this could just be another big step in the journey of a team that now doesn't just believe they're good enough to compete. They're good enough. They believe now they're good enough to contend and win the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And that's the swag they're taking back home.
Yeah, there it is, man. So with that being said, man, give me your predictions for tonight. Eric, I'll start with you, man. Predictions for tonight. Game 2.
The world champion Boston Celtics will come out. They will play a very good basketball game, and they will even the series at 1 game apiece. And I'll say it now. If the Celtics do not win tonight, I will be taking both of you to dinner when I get to New York.
Hey, sounds good. Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
What spot are we going? What spot are we going to, Eric? Where are we going?
It depends on my emotional state after the game. I'll let you know.
That's fair. That's fair.
Dex, how you feeling, man?
I think this is. I said this to you when you were in studio with me the other day, CP.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these games are going to be close. I wasn't surprised at the fight from the Knicks. I think the Celtics are going to throw a haymaker early. I'm very intrigued to see how the Knicks respond to that. I think the Knicks will, because they'll have the confidence of fighting back in these games. I do think they fall short tonight. I'd like to be wrong. I'd like to get the dinner from Eric.
Yeah.
I really would.
Brooklyn Chop House. Brooklyn Chop House.
You know what?
We're going for steaks. We're going for steaks.
That's one of my favorite spots, CP. That's one of my favorite spots.
Steaks TBD.
Yeah. So there we go. Going for, and I think, Eric, I'm gonna say this now. If the Knicks win, you should be in a good mood to make sure that me and CP are in a good mood and take us to Brooklyn Chop House. And we'll make sure that when you leave the restaurant, you will be in a good mood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even though your team would be down 0-2, we're going to make sure that you're in a good mood too. We're going to do that for you. That's what we're going to do.
There'll be no good mood from my end if we're down 0-2. You both know that very well.
But yeah,
it'll be a fun dinner, but it will be moody.
It'll be moody. I will say, CP, I'll go. I think the Celtics get this tonight. I'm gonna give them a 7-point win. I think it'll be tough. I think the Knicks will be right there. But if the Knicks come back to the Garden and it's 1-1, I'm not saying they should settle. They should be greedy and go for 2. Like I said, every team is trying to win all these games. Look how Indiana feels. We just talked about there. But I do think it's gonna be a tough one. I think the Celtics have a lot of pride. I'm gonna respect the championship medal. But I think if you're a Knicks fan and you said they were coming back to New York 1-1, which is I thought what it would be anyway, I think it'd be fine for that and for some good games at the Garden. But people, I want that dinner at Brooklyn Chop House. Yeah. I'm just like, I want that dinner.
I'm with you, man. You know what, man? I'm still on the emotional high from game 1.
Woo!
And while I would expect, like you said, I would expect that championship haymaker from the Celtics, I just don't know how healthy is Jaylen Brown, how healthy is Drew Holiday off of a hamstring. You know what I mean? What is Kristaps? What's the situation with him? With the conditioning and things of that nature? I'll tell you one thing. If I get a 38-40 minutes big bodega masterclass with Captain Clutch doing his clutch things, I think the Knicks steal another one in overtime tonight.
In OT?
In OT.
Yo,
I'm still emotional from game one, man. I'm a little bit delirious.
Trying to get that dinner. CP's trying to get
Ride
that dinner.
those emotions.
I'm
right
so emotional,
into right into the summer that starts for you in about 10 days.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Absolutely, man. So with that being said, man, we'll plan to reconvene either. I'll follow up with you guys either Thursday or Friday.
Friday. Let's do it
Friday. Okay. All right. Let's do it, man. Great show, guys. Eric, let the people know where they can find you once again.
At Eric W. Newman on Instagram, at B-Ball Radio with Bobito Garcia and myself. Rod Strickland episode just dropped. Got to get that stuff on social today. Also building at The Storm NYC with Ty Grant and Sean L. Scott. That's one of the reasons why I'm coming to town this week. You can read my basketball writing on at Everything Basketball, and all my production work, of course, from filmmaking to podcasts and everything in between, untouchablecreative.com. Appreciate you guys. Can't wait for this game tonight. Can't wait to see you in New York.
Yes, sir. Dex, let them know what you got going on tonight.
Yeah, got going on tonight. We're doing another live Knicks watch party. I've seen some people in the chat that have been hopping on with us. Myself, Brian Fonseca, Grady Diaz is going to be our guest. We welcome everybody. She's a Celtics fan, like Eric Newman. She will be joining us and watching the game with us, so that should be a fun one. Come rock with us. New York Post Sports, YouTube channel. You can follow me on all platforms at DHenryTV. Looking forward to rocking with you guys on Friday. Appreciate the conversation. Eric, shout out to the great Bobito Garcia, too.
Yes, sir.
That's my guy. Shout out to Bobito.
Absolutely, man. All right, fellas, I'll catch up with you guys on Friday. Great show. Salute to everybody in the chat once again, man. Like, share, and subscribe to the number one show for the fans by the fans, man. Salute to my panel. Great show today. And this is what we do, man. Quality with everything that we do. It is at the forefront, and we try to give you guys your money's worth. You know, you could be spending time doing a lot of things. So we just make sure that, we give you your money's worth with quality panels and quality content. Busy day. So we had to make sure we got that in. All right, salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to Brightest Future says D. Henry CP order filet and lobster. Yeah, Brooklyn chop. You got to do a little bit of everything. A little surf and turf. I get the shrimp fried rice. That's me and wifey's spot, man. We go to Brooklyn chop. So shout out to everybody over there. Ainsworth tonight for Game 2. NYC Tri-State area come through. Meet me over there, franchise channel members. You guys know you get a discount to get in. Also, a free drink on me if you are a franchise channel member. So, great deal. Make sure you come through. DJ Eric L. Beats on the ones and twos as well. So, looking forward to seeing everybody out there because Game 1 was rocking. And if these boys pull it off in Game 2, oh my God, the city will be on fire. I can guarantee you that. All right. Oh, let me see. Who's a franchise channel member? Armand, G5 Weez, Will Latimer, never misses a show. Billy R23, shout out to Billy Talento, never misses a show. Always in here. Christopher Blake, never misses a show, man. Jack City, never misses a show. Johnny4481, salute to you. Lou Bang, welcome back to the franchise channel member. Shout out to Jern. Who else? Lee Bloxham checking in from the UK. All my people from across the pond. Australia, New Zealand, everywhere worldwide, man. I see you guys, man. Who else we got in here? Let's see. Rare Edition. Always in here. Salute to the regulars, man, on the lunchtime grind. Who else? Make sure I'm not missing nobody. Hang tight. Papa Giorgio. Salute. J Rose 712. Salute. Salute to another one of our sponsors, man, at LinkedIn Jobs. Hey, if you guys own a small to medium-sized business, man, and you're looking for top quality content, try LinkedIn Jobs, man, because you can post your job for absolutely free. Best part is you type in your job description, LinkedIn will pull in the qualified candidates, and also the benefit of using LinkedIn to post your job is that you can use the social network aspect of it. So you just toggle your icon, your profile picture with the hiring hashtag picture, and your whole network will know that you're searching for the next top talent. Try it today. Go to linkedin.com/KFTV to post your job for free. That is linkedin.com/KFTV. Terms and conditions apply. I also want to shout out another one of our sponsors, man, Bear Mattress. Hey, listen, you guys know that you spend a lot of times in your life sleeping, so make the proper investment in your bedding. The best part about Bear Mattress is that you get matched to your perfect mattress. How do they do that? You fill out a survey on the website with your sleeping patterns, your preferences, and they will pair you up with one of the many mattresses that they have. I got paired up with the Elite Hybrid. As you see here, 3,000, almost 4,000 reviews and 4.5 stars. Ultra luxurious comfort plus the most advanced cooling and 5-zone support technology, man. Shout out to my guys at Bear Mattress for hooking me up. And they're going to hook you guys up at home because anywhere else, nowhere else but here are you getting 40% off on your purchase site-wide. 40% off with code KFTV at bearmattress.com. So make sure you check them out. Let them know the good people at KFTV sent you. 40% off the award-winning Bear Mattress. All right, so that's the word, man. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Salute to the replay gang. Also, remember that this show is available in audio podcast format, so no reason to miss it. You can catch us on all podcast platforms. We'll be back tonight for play-by-play with CK2K, and then post-game, Alex and JD will kick it off, and I will take on the anchor leg as soon as I get back from a raucous watch party. All right, great show, everybody. We'll see you guys later, man. Peace.